When I sit down to write, it's more effort for me. It's more effort for me.
Same.
I mean, I'm just going to be straight up and I want everyone listening. If journaling works for you, keep doing it.
Journal your ass off if it works.
Yeah, journal your ass off. I'm offering you another tool. A lot of people talk about emotional regulation. This will help you. This is called verbal regulation, right? You can actually regulate your emotions through the sound of your own voice, right? And by playing with different tones of your voice. I realized this for me because I mean, for me to sit down, say, how am I feeling? And write it down. By the time I do it, I'm like, wait, I don't even know how I feel anymore, but I can use my words. It's just easier for me to say, I feel like crap right now. I feel heavy. I feel tired. I feel discouraged. And when I hear myself saying that, there is a different part of me that is like, wait a minute, I do have a voice in me that's very encouraging, that is very positive. That's the voice of reason. I call it the voice of God, the voice of our intuition. When I hear myself saying certain things, I don't know what happens. I'm just able to access a different part of me that's like, wait a minute, you're not shitty. No, you're not. So I think when we do that enough, we actually start to distance ourselves from the things that we're telling ourselves, right? That's why it's so much easier if you were to be unkind to yourself, right, Mark? And you were sharing something that you were thinking about yourself and you said it to me. I'd be like, Mark, don't be unkind to yourself. Like, Mark, you deserve so much more from yourself. So we can do that with ourselves, but we keep it inside of our head. So it just becomes background noise. And what I'm suggesting to everyone is when you say out loud, whatever it is, the conundrum, the issue, the challenge, even like strategizing stuff about your next level in your business, next season, if you're the kind of person that has a lot going on in your head, it could really benefit you to say it out loud so that you can hear what's inside of your head and you can respond accessing a different part of you.
That's interesting to be able to put it into, you said earlier, which I wanted to come back to because I think it's so powerful, is the concept of the tonality of your own voice can put you in regulation, which, yeah, I think about like Peter Levine's work where one of the ways to regulate your nervous system is to take a deep breath. And then when you exhale, use the VU, like VU, VU, and that's supposed to help stimulate the vagal nerve. The idea, though, of speaking out the thought, when I think of the psychological process of self-silencing, and especially when we have the inner critics, and I want to get to how do you label the self or the parts. But when I think about the process of the silencing, like where we spend so much time ruminating, and of course that's an adaptive strategy from childhood. So we're like ruminating, we think these thoughts need to stay in here because we judge the thoughts and then they get put in a little box, but they always talk back outside that box. So the process of actually verbalizing them auditorily, I could see the incredible value of that because we likely, combined with rumination and catastrophizing and all the things that go on in our head, we probably also don't share what we truly feel and what we truly want to say. So starting that practice with self, because if we're not calling out the things in our head that aren't accurate or right or good, or I don't want judgment terms, but like that are unproductive, then we're definitely not doing it in our external world. And so do you see that as part of the practice? Yeah,
Yes.
I
So
see you smiling.
yes,
So that's
I'm smiling because you're under, like, you're really getting this, and that really, I love when people really understand what I'm trying to say here, and they're like, "Are you sure you're not crazy?" I'm like, "Only slightly." So okay, so every exercise, only
yeah, maybe
slightly.
I'm just processing crazy here out loud. Perfect.
Listen, takes one to know one. So I just turned to chapter 3 in my book, right? It's talk to your triggers out loud. These are for all my people who struggle with emotional perfectionism, which is basically that some emotions are favorable for you to display and some aren't. At the end of every chapter, you don't even need an expensive ass journal. All you need is your voice to do these exercises.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. You don't need it. Yeah, you really don't. I'm literally telling you what to say. So every exercise is broken down in terms of a prompt and a practice and a promise. The prompt is the noticing, right? The awareness. Notice when you're feeling triggered. Pay attention to the feelings in your body. You might be feeling uneasy, resistant, and or constrained. Now, this is the practice. This is the thing that is the game changer, because every single practice is you asking yourself a question. I'm training you to be curious with yourself. So if it's hard for you to just say out loud how you're feeling, I always recommend asking yourself a question to prompt something inside of you. So for example, ask out loud, what's triggering me right now? If you're not used to using the word trigger, you can say bothering, annoying, irritating. So here's an example. I've done this before. I had to do this a lot. Like after my recovery, I just was so dysregulated from life, but I would be frustrated and I would just stop and say, Vasavi, what is bothering you right now? And then I would let that part of me that's bothered or triggered respond back. So in my book, I actually give you example scripts, like ask yourself, what's bothering, triggering me right now? Pause and then actually say what it is. And then you can keep probing. My invitation to all my readers is to stop stopping with yourself, right? Ask yourself the question, get to not the root, like the childhood root, but like get to know yourself. Why are
Yeah.
you so pissed off? Why are you so jealous right now? Why do you feel so insecure? Like get to know yourself so that no one else ever defines who you are again, right? So that's what I love about these exercises is I'm actually training you to talk to yourself. We go to a therapist, to listen. We go to a coach to ask the powerful questions, but we can do that too to ourselves, with ourselves.
Yeah, that process of being the person who can navigate and heal oneself, which is, I don't think a foreign. I think having the leadership or the guidance is helpful to know how to process or sit with these things that you're talking about. Because, you said getting real with yourself, thinking, oh, why am I so pissed off? Or why do I get really jealous? Instead, what we often do is we just pretend that that's not running our life till it erupts, right? Till it blows up our relationship, till we're dating someone new and all of a sudden we want to check their phone, which is not relevant to their current behavior maybe, but the past still living with us. And if we don't call out or say out loud the truth of how we're actually feeling, we can't deal with it. Like that's just a fact. If you can't sit with reality, you can't change it because you don't think you're part of it. And then we live in this world where we're just lying to ourselves.
Delusional.
Yeah, it is delusion. And then we wonder why we have anxiety.
Yep.
I know why. Because you're pretending you're not angry. You're pretending your jealousy isn't destroying relationships. You're pretending that you like the circumstances you're in, the dysfunctional relationships, the addiction to whatever you're addicted to. That seems to be normal, to be honest. Like that's kind of just normal life. That's normal. It's normal to see people suppress, depress, lie, cheat, monetize their pain, the disconnection with their self. And it's interesting how the journey back to health, wholeness, mental, emotional health is always self.
It's always self. I know. And
never anything else.
Because
the cosmic joke.
When you and you are good within, when you're good with you, you're good, right? Like nothing and no one can.
Abraham Hicks, right?
Being good with you. Yeah.
Right. Your alignment of you with you.